We're now on the west end of the house, and I don't think I included this in my first video, but this is just a small area. It's such a charming place. I've got these LED color changing light bulbs that shine up in the nighttime and light up this piece of metal work and stuff. It's very, very groovy. We have a few giant hyacinths, maybe 10. And then there you can see the remains, the greens that are left over from the crocus that were here. But what I wanted to shoot was just how charming these little grape hyacinth are, or English wood hyacinth. I'm not sure if there's a difference between, look at that. There's a crocus that hasn't even opened yet. What a surprise, what a pleasant surprise. Yeah, so another example of one of those things that looks like I planted 50 of them. It says it's the Breck's 2 months of hyacinth mixture. So it's gonna be a few varieties there. And another example of where 50 is great, 500 would have been better. And you know, in 10 years, these will be 500. And they're very robust and very thick and naturalized beautifully. And yeah, good feelings about this. It's a little humble area. It's my humble garden. Yes. And then continuing along here from this same, there's the humble garden. I don't know, I didn't even need to pause that, did I? Well, whatever. This stretch, the pathway, the pathway bed, because it goes along this pathway, going up along the lower south edge of the house. And this, again, is the hyacinths. And they're still my very most favorite of all. They're so beautiful. They smell so nice. And what's going on along this flower bed, pathway flower bed, is you can see how thick, look at all the crocus greens. The crocus greens are these guys that look like sort of a firework. They went pew, right? And after the crocus flowers, this green stuff just keeps hanging out for a couple, well, at least a month, maybe a couple months, and it grabs all the nutrients and the sunlight and the water that it can to build up next year's round of crocus bulbs. And there will be 2 or 3 times as many for each one that there is now. So I planted these here, got my little sign. It looks like 160, and this is a 40-foot stretch. So I did everything in multiples of 40 and 80. And there are 160 crocus along here. And this is where I am already regretting my video shooting, or not video shooting, which was I don't think I even took any pictures. They were pretty thick, pretty nice, beautiful. And then behind that, tucked in, you can see them. This one here is a really nice example. This is the Scilla. Probably people say Scilla, S-C-I-L-L-A, but I say Scilla because I'm trying to get my ancient Greek pronunciations. And the letter C in Greek is always pronounced K. So cyclops are kyclops. What? That makes no sense. Then there are the alliums that are in here. They look like an onion or garlic, these guys, and they're not doing much now, but they're gonna put up these cool, I think blue or purple bulbs. Kind of weird alien looking plant. Anyhow, then the hyacinth, then the daffodils. And the Dutch iris in here, they did not do well at all. And I think it might be because they were the earliest things that I planted. The earliest Dutch iris that I planted. I planted thousands of them, but this particular stretch went in the earliest and may have even been coming up a little too much when in early January, late in the, I think it was the 6th or 7th or something like that, but we had a crazy overnight cold of 8 degrees Fahrenheit, and I think it might have killed some of them off. So I'll just continue from here. I was gonna do like a separate clip, shoot a separate clip for every area, but I don't want to. Let's see. I'm just gonna walk down through here. Try not to step on too many of these little babies. Trying to get the view from down here. What's very different, yeah. Looks just like a lawn almost. This, the flower field, the bulb planted, the spring bulb planted section of the flower field, which is the one that has the total of 6,000 bulbs, 3,000 early and later crocus, 1,500, come on, dude, 15, wait a minute, oh my goodness, check it out. It's the first Fritillaria meleagris, which was the one I couldn't remember the name of. Or I think the guinea hen. I didn't know actually if any of them were even up because they look a lot like, they're in here with the Dutch iris and the crocus, and then there's the Fritillaria, and they all pretty much just go like, you know, they just kind of go spring, spring with their little green leaves. Like here is a crocus, right? Doing its thing. And here would be the Dutch iris. They look more, after they're done, they have these two prongs that come up and they look more like an onion, kind of. An onion or a garlic vibe. But each plant, after it flowers, it's weird because it flowers when it's really short, and then it sends up these tall shoots. And every single bulb looks like it has a pair, basically just a pair of these that go up. Or, I don't know what's happening here. Maybe this is several bulbs. That's a little cluster. But the point is, some accidentally press down the volume button, which stops the video. Duh. So somewhere in here are apparently growing up. I didn't know because I didn't even know what they really looked like, but now I can find out. The Fritillaria. So here is another one. And they have a unique thing. They got a stalk with these leaves coming out of the side of it. So that distinguishes it pretty well from the crocus and the Dutch iris. But why don't we see so many more of them right now? Like there are 1,500 of those babies planted here. That's a cool flower. That's a beautiful little creature. Look at that. So those are gonna be coming. I can see there's even some crocuses in here that haven't quite opened yet. Waiting for the sunny days, you know? How about that? How about that? All right. And then still not a whole lot to see in the daylily garden, I guess. It's just this whole section from down there and then coming up and across. And there's a total of 30 big, juicy, beautiful Shriners daylilies planted there. And also, every one of them is clustered by usually around 3 or 4 daffodils, as well as 10 or so anemones or Grecian windflowers, and the wood sorrel, which is Oxalis adenophylla. Oxalis adenophylla, which are the weirdest looking little bulb seed corn things. I can see down here we have another Fritillaria meleagris. So that's about 3. And the lilies are coming in pretty good. Let's try to get like a lily cam view. There are 80 lily plants along this blue retaining wall, and they alternate every 6 inches between an Asiatic from just a mix of different colors and Oriental or Orient pet. The Asiatics are going to come up they're gonna flower, I mean, in June mostly, and then the oriental variety flowers in July and even August. Very nice. Yeah, the flower field. And this is the area that has the 1.5 million annual wildflower seeds, which are all forming that nice green haze. And hopefully will become something beautiful. It's gonna be pretty chaotic. Here we have, oh, these beauties, these little grape hyacinths are so classy. And they, all of them, most of them appear to have a second column of flowers coming up. That's fantastic. There's also something planted here called a firecracker flower, about which I know nothing. And we've got so many jonquils really digging their vibe. The little, see how many flowers you get from a cluster of these? I don't know if this is like several, I don't see how or why I would have planted 3 jonquil bulbs together, or even 2. This would just be one, and it comes up in this fat, juicy, super flowery cluster. So those are going way up my list. And some reading today indicated that they are one of the more robust, you know, survivors, naturalizers, because I'm really interested in getting so many daffodils all over the place. Farther along on the west end of the house, I'll make a separate video for this, but you can see down there is, you can see a couple flowers. That's a little test bed, I think, with 8 or 10 different plants, flowering bulbs planted, that I want to evaluate those, because this whole section is going to be shaded by these maple trees here real soon. And it's pretty lovely. It's just this, it has this potential for in and around all these sword ferns to have several different of whatever over the next couple years in my little test area prove to be the most happy with these circumstances, where they get a little sunshine earlier in the year and then they don't. Some daffodils next to the hydrangea, which is budding out, leafing out, leaf budding out. Rhododendron. All right, well, I think we're probably about done for now. Pretty stuff. Nice. Nice to have the hyacinth up against the blue wall. Sadly, my pink ones all fell over pretty much. They're so sad. I'll put some stakes in next year. Yeah, all right, good. Well, that was very fun. You know, I'll just do a quick look at the rock wall flower bed. The rock wall flower bed coming along nice. The double daffodils in the center doing really well. Looks like we're pretty close to getting some tulips opening up, especially back in here. They're really thick. They're shorter than the daffodil, but they'll still be quite seeable. And then all these ranunculus along the bottom. And a friend visiting yesterday pointed out, or asked, what is this little thing growing in here, which I didn't know. Now I do. It's here. Any guesses, anybody? And here. Oh, go away, deer. Anyhow, that is the Grecian wildflower, the anemones. And also in here, the first of which I'm seeing is that Oxalis adenophylla, or wood sorrel. That's this. I'm getting wet. Ah! Okay, good. I mean, it's working so far. There are lots of deer that live in my forest, and so far none of them have eaten any of my tulips. So that's cool. Almost everything else I've chosen to grow, Except the lilies, actually, I think at some point, maybe when the lily flowers are just beginning to bud out, at some point they're very attractive to deer, apparently. So most of my lilies are protected. Yes. Tiny Dancer, hey, what's up? So this section of the garden is, and by garden, I guess I mean the whole damn thing, the landscaping, whatever. This is over here along the south wall of my extra house. That's a whole other story, this house. Straw bale construction, the first permitted straw bale house. And they built this one first as a test with a apartment above a garage, and then used that knowledge to build the main house. It's really special. It's called Raven Core, is what they named it. The heart of the raven, because there are so many of them around here. So, some feedback from a friend on my last video was the camera moved around a little too much. So I can appreciate that. We're gonna look here, jerk. We're gonna look here at the kiwi vine. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be so wonderful this year. Last year it hadn't gone up any of this stuff. I didn't put these lines in, these ropes, until last year. So it was about as high as it got, was maybe the, you know, the bottom of the electric box there. But it's really lush, so healthy. And then to its right is the wisteria, which is just getting some fat little budlies on it. You can see them. Those are little, not buds, they're bunches of leaves. Bunches of leaves. All along the wall there is a variety of tulips and daffodils, of course. There is a bunch and not enough Dutch iris planted here. I don't know how many I put in, but everywhere I planted those, I just, this winter, late January through February, early March, I just was wishing I had planted so many more. Like wherever there was 80, there should be 300, you know. Beautiful, wonderful flower. Dark purple, lighter purple, lavender, whites. And they look like they look a little bit extraterrestrial, to be honest. These are all tulips. Very strange. There's a total of 600 bulbs. Deer alert. 600 bulbs planted in like 3 separate kind of groups. I can't remember if I mixed some of the varieties together. I think I might have mixed some of them here, where you have the shorter ones and the taller ones. And that is my very first tulip bloom. Yay for that. So, and then there's also these guys that came out in this container. Yesterday, there were none of them. There were none of them. Pretty cool. So, stop moving this camera. One strange thing about this plot of tulips that I dug out this really crappy soil, I loosened it all up, took out the rocks, added a bunch of extra soil, a bunch of compost, mixed it all up, fluffed it all up, and everywhere here is the same. It's the same depth, it's the same mix of soil, it's the same weather conditions and exposure, basically. And it's so weird. What the heck? Why no tulips here and there? They're planted really thick. There's, you know, 200 bulbs over this, like, whatever 8 square foot area. So they're very thick, and they came up beautifully along the deck line. Okay, that's enough. Oh my God. Anyhow, pretty good stuff. Oh, also along the wall there is gonna be, there's no real visible sign of them yet, but I planted 80 last spring, and they came up but didn't flower very much, and they were the Lucifer crocosmia, which is a super cool, very pretty flower. And I'm excited this year to have more of them flowering. Apparently that's common for those. You don't get flowers necessarily on all of them first run. They need to mature a little bit. Beautiful, beautiful, good stuff. Let's have a little sweeping view of the panorama, shall we, while we're here? It's a good spot for it. Looking down into the valley, the North Fork of the Skokomish? Sky, oh, come on. All right, just ignore that. I know the name of the river. Man, of course I do.